DanDaDan is an anime airing this season that needs no introduction. Between the visually stunning animation, incredible voice cast, and the catchy opening theme, you'd be hard-pressed to find an anime fan that hasn't already heard of this series. And though on the outside, DanDaDan may look like a battle shonen about ghosts and aliens, or a rom-com disguised as such, at its core, DanDaDan is about one thing in particular: dick and balls. Balls, ass, titties.
Your gum should be here by the end of the
Where's
week.
my cat? Where? Hey!
If you don't believe me, DanDaDan's mangaka Yukinobu Tatsu and editor Shihei Lin stated in an interview that they meet weekly to workshop dirty jokes into story elements leading to the wacky twists and turns commonly taken in this series. But at the core of all of this dick and balls is one character and one character only: Turbo Granny.
I'll let you suckle my teats, boy.
A wacky new age yokai beyond the comprehension of even the most creative and active imaginations. A ghostly old woman who has the powers of super speed and imparting nasty curses upon anyone misfortunate enough to cross paths with her. And though a vulgar old woman with super speed falls in line with something that would come out of these famous brainstorming sessions between Yukinobu Tatsu and Shihei Lin, the legend of Turbo Granny actually comes from real-life, new age Japanese folklore. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at the real-life origin of the Turbo Granny legend, and even unpacking how and why these stories originated in the first place. But before we do, an update. Recently, I unfortunately lost my dick and balls in a horrible circumcision accident where the doctor took my shit off smooth. Subscribe to my channel now so I can afford to pay the requisite 10,000 subscribers to afford my phalloplasty. Thank you. Originating from the highways of Mount Roko and Hyogo Prefecture, the legend of Turbo Granny has persisted via word of mouth and internet forums like 2chan for many years now. And to the surprise of many Western anime fans, Turbo Granny has actually had more appearances in Japanese pop culture than her lead role in DanDaDan currently, being included in the likes of the Shin Megami Tensei games and Mob Psycho 100. So how about we get all cozy by this here campfire and listen to a ghost story.
It's nighttime, and you're driving down the Sanyo Expressway alone. Every now and then, headlights pointing the opposite direction appear around a bend in the road, but they soon pass, leaving you to your solitude. You've been traveling for a few hours now, after leaving a work trip in Kyoto, heading towards your wife at home in Okayama. It's only been a few days since you departed your home for this work trip, but the seemingly endless days of meetings and bureaucratic nonsense has left you weary and depleted. As you press on through the hypnotizing monotony of reflective highway lane markers, you see a sign come into view 50 meters down the road. As you approach the sign, glistening in the beams of your headlights, you notice that it's a highway speed limit sign. 70 kilometers an hour? I won't be home until well after 3 a.m. at this point, you think to yourself. Seeing as you haven't seen another soul on this highway for over 20 minutes, let alone a police car, you start to lower your foot more and more onto the gas pedal. Your vehicle starts to accelerate. 75 kilometers per hour, 80, 85. But as you approach 90, you notice something. A glimmer in the rearview mirror. Headlights? That's impossible. I haven't seen another car heading southbound since passing Akashi over an hour ago. But it's then that you notice that this glimmer in your rearview mirror wasn't headlights at all, but a pair of glowing eyes hastening their way towards the bumper of your car only 30 meters behind you. What the hell is that? You think to yourself as you press your foot even harder on the gas pedal. 90, 95, 96. Just as you're about to reach 100 kilometers per hour, you hear knocking on the back window of your vehicle. As you look into the rearview mirror, your heart drops as you're face to face with the haunting image of a terrifying hag with glowing eyes sprinting directly behind your car. Startled, you forget to check the road in front of you, as you don't even notice the fast approaching guardrail. Oh shit! You try to veer out of the way, but it was too late. You were going too fast. Your car hits the guardrail at over 95 kilometers per hour, causing your vehicle to violently spin out and then flip over and over again. By the time you realize what's happening, it's already over. You're bleeding, and your head is foggy from the turbulence of the crash. But just as you remember your pursuer, you look out the other side of your car to see a pair of emaciated legs standing beside your vehicle. A grisly hand with long, unkept nails reaches into your car from your broken passenger side window. You then see it, the face of the hag who caused this horrific accident, as she peeks her head into your car. "What do you want?" You scream as the terrifying creature stares at you through the hole where your passenger side window used to be. The creature stares for a moment before speaking. "I'll let you suck on my titties, so let me gobble your weenie."
It was between that or a Loch Ness Monster Tree Fitty joke, so I thought we'd just stick with what works thematically.
What do you want from us, monster? And the monster bent down and said, I need about 350.
A massive thanks to my good friend Tracking Shot Sam for lending his voice to tell that campfire story. I'll leave a link to his YouTube channel below where he has an awesome DanDaDan video that you should absolutely check out. Ever since the original story of Turbo Granny started circulating from Hyogo Prefecture, there have been reported sightings all over Japan. So what exactly inspired the original Turbo Granny story? Well, there are sort of two different answers. One somewhat lighthearted, and the other somewhat grim. Let's start with the lighthearted, shall we? A lot of folktales from cultures all over the planet usually exist as cautionary tales to ward against hurting yourself or to promote good societal behavior. Another example from Japanese folklore that I like is a yokai called Beto Beto-san. If you ever find yourself walking down a path alone at night and you hear the sound of sandals walking behind you, you're being followed by a spirit called Beto Beto-san. Beto Beto is just the onomatopoeia for the sound sandals make in Japanese. The proper procedure during a situation like this is to step out of the way and say, "Osaki ni dozo," or "Please go ahead of me, Beto Beto-san." Now, if it wasn't obvious, the social utility of this folktale is to encourage people to step out of the way and let someone who's walking faster than them go ahead. As for the legend of Turbo Granny, it's speculated that her story exists to get people to follow traffic laws for their own safety and the safety of those around them. It's like cautionary tale meets creepypasta. However, like I mentioned before, there's a second, more grim possibility for what inspired the legend of Turbo Granny, stemming from a concept in Japanese folklore called ubasute. Ubasute literally translates to throwing out an old person, and it's pretty much just as fucked up as it sounds. There was an urban legend where in times of famine or when the going gets tough, people would carry the elderly up into remote mountains and abandon them to die in an act of senicide. And seeing as the original legend of Turbo Granny came from a mountain range located near some of the biggest cities in central Japan like Kyoto, Kobe, and Osaka, it's easy to be able to draw links between a legend of a lone elderly woman who haunts a mountain and the older tale of the elderly being abandoned on mountains to die. Now, throughout Japanese history, there's no reported cases of this actually happening, but as Japan's population ages, there are actually some contemporary criminal cases of ubasute being carried out in the 21st century. One instance of a man leaving his older disabled sister on a mountainside to die in 2011, and another case of a woman leaving her elderly father at a motorway service station in 2018. And while it's impossible to certify just how much the practice of ubasute inspired the original legend of Turbo Granny, I do believe these grim tales of attempted senicide could have inspired DanDaDan's depiction of Turbo Granny in particular, especially seeing how it's revealed at the end of the first arc that she has a soft spot for those left behind and victims of heinous crimes. And seeing as both these modern day cases happened not too long before the creation of the DanDaDan manga, this wouldn't be the least bit surprising. Whether Turbo Granny originated from a silly creepypasta from the early 2000s, or was inspired by a grim legend with possible roots in reality, her beloved appearance in DanDaDan has had new and old fans alike curious about her real-life story now more than ever. If you'd like to read more about the possible origins of the Turbo Granny legend, a good friend of mine on Twitter named Epi made a great thread about it that you can find in a link in the description below. But for now, remember to drive safe, be useful to society, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.
君はなぜ戦い続けるのか命をかけて一筋に無敵の男